Tonight on Cronkite News, a flaw in Arizona's voter registration system that could disqualify nearly 100,000 voters. We'll have more on what top election officials are doing about it.
Plus, a look into Prop 139, which adds an amendment to the state constitution protecting abortion rights in Arizona.
And the Diamondbacks wrap up their series at Coors Field against the Colorado Rockies, looking to avoid being swept. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Kayla Marina.
And I'm DeAndre Sanders. Thank you for joining us.
Nearly 100,000 Arizona voters may not be eligible for local and state elections in November.
Lauren Blyer reports from Washington on why and what election officials are doing about it.
Since 2004, Arizona has required proof of U.S. citizenship to vote in state and local elections. And most people with a valid driver's license are covered because they had to show a birth certificate or some other proof to get their license. But there is a glitch. Some people who got their license before 1996 may have fallen through the cracks.
There is a subset of Arizona voters, about 96,000 across the state, who have not provided documented proof of citizenship, but the Motor Vehicle Division, the record that it produces to the statewide voter registration database says that they have provided documented proof of citizenship.
Arizona election officials don't think these 96,000 voters are non-citizens, and they'll be allowed to vote in the presidential election. But Richer wants these voters to receive federal-only ballots unless they prove citizenship. Secretary of State Adrian Fontes believes they should also be allowed to vote on ballot measures and in state legislative races. Richer filed a lawsuit hoping to get clarity.
Only Arizona has this, what I think is an unreasonable extra burden on its voters. And so that's why they get to vote Fed only in the worst case scenario here. So we're hoping they can vote the whole ballot.
Former President Donald Trump claimed he was cheated in Arizona in 2020. Now he's fanning flames about the possibility of widespread voting by non-citizens, sharing a news article about the glitch and writing, quote, trying to rig the election, end quote. Richer is a Republican, Fontes is a Democrat. Both say they are getting in front of the issue to tamp down such unfounded rumors.
And the reason why we want to get clarity from the courts is so that somebody doesn't say after the election, well, you knew about this issue that you discovered in early September and you didn't do anything about it, or you did this, but we don't think that was the right thing to do. So we have to be aware that people will say some things that isn't 100% accurate.
Fontes agree that most, if not all, 96,000 are U.S. citizens and voters are not at fault. In Washington, Lauren Blyer, Cronkite News.
Ballots go out October 9th, and it's up to the Arizona Supreme Court on whether or not to address this issue before the upcoming November 5th election.
And on the ballot in November, Arizona voters will decide on a proposed amendment to the state constitution protecting abortion rights. Macy Markham is in D.C. to explain what this means for pregnant people in Arizona.
3 months before the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade in 2022, Arizona adopted a trigger ban that would prohibit abortion after 15 weeks if Roe was overturned. Proposition 139, also known as the Arizona Abortion Access Act, would allow abortion up to fetal viability. Mary Ziegler, a law professor at the University of California, Davis, says a constitutional amendment is one of the more durable ways to protect abortion rights.
Prop 139 could still be blocked if there's, for example, a federal ban on abortion, or if conservatives turn existing laws like the Comstock Act into de facto bans on abortion. But it's true that constitutional amendments within the state of Arizona are harder to undo, for example, than a state statute would be.
Arizona for Abortion Access, an advocacy group that collected signatures to get the amendment on the ballot, wants abortion access enshrined in the state constitution. Campaign spokesperson Chris Love explained why.
Unfortunately, the 15-week ban is dangerous for Arizonans because it doesn't include exceptions for rape or incest. And oftentimes, pregnant people are forced to, experience some serious medical complications before they get treatment under the current law.
Proposition 139 would effectively overturn Arizona's 15-week ban. The focus on fetal viability would allow abortion much later in pregnancy, up up to about 24 weeks. Arizona is just one of 10 states where in November, voters will decide whether to enshrine abortion rights. The anti-abortion organization Alliance Defending Freedom, which opposes the ballot measure, said in an off-camera interview that they believe the amendment is too vaguely worded, saying they are concerned restrictions like informed consent could be challenged. If Proposition 139 is not passed, Arizona's 15-week abortion ban would remain in effect. In Washington, Macy Markham, Cronkite News.
4 out of the 10 states with ballot initiatives already legalized abortion: Nevada, Colorado, New York, and Maryland, but their initiatives will add the rights to reproductive freedom to the state's constitution.
Today is a big day for the U.S. economy. For the first time since 2020, the Federal Reserve voted to lower interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. The rate cut will give relief to many, especially borrowers in the U.S. The cut sets a new base for what banks can charge people. This includes loans, mortgages, and other forms of debt. Reacting to the cut, the markets lowered today. Both the NASDAQ and S&P 500 fell 0.3%.
And the other big news here in the Valley, you're going to like this one. An end to record-breaking heat. As Sienna Monet tells us, we are finally below 100 degrees for the first time in months.
The 113-day streak of days over 100 degrees has officially ended here in Phoenix. Yesterday, we had a high of 93 degrees, which was 7 degrees below around this time last year. And taking a look at this morning, we had a low of 73 degrees, which was really nice. And going into the weekend, we're going to be experiencing some warmer temperatures. So how long will this weather last? Stick around for our forecast in just a few minutes.
Arizona residents looking for ways to make the world more green had a chance to do so at the local science center. Cronkite News reporter Ignacio Venturo observed the local development and job opportunities available to those wanting to explore climate investments.
At a Green Opportunities Fair put on by Dream.org and Climate Power, people learned about how connecting with organizations can make a difference in using clean energy to make a difference for the community. Topics like climate change and clean energy are important for Arizonans. The Inflation Reduction Act provides $369 billion to create a clean energy economy. Office of Resiliency Director Mary Mahoney recognizes those communities affected by the federal dollars coming from the Inflation Reduction Act.
We have seniors who are in need of support for energy costs. We have tribal communities who are facing extreme heat and flooding. We have children who, need school improvements and, clean buses.
For the upcoming election, Mahoney says it's important to recognize the challenges facing Arizonans and think about potential community investments. According to Climate Power, over 18 clean energy jobs have been created in Arizona thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. In the newsroom, Ignacio Ventura, Cronkite News.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, news from around the world.
Lebanon saw a second wave of explosions today. What we know about the incident and the victims and more coming up when Cronkite News returns.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized. Individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite.
Welcome back to Cronkite News with a look now at news from around the world.
Early this morning, Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon were hit by a second wave of explosive devices. These explosions came after thousands were injured on Tuesday. The devices that exploded were pagers and walkie-talkies being carried by Hezbollah members. Batteries inside of those devices are apparently what's causing the explosions. Those batteries reportedly came from a recent shipment to Hezbollah. Some of the victims have been left with severe hands damage, eyes, and other bodily gashes. And some civilians are said to be among the victims. Hezbollah and the Lebanese government says Israel is to blame. And late today, Israel acknowledged the attacks.
We in the resistance make sacrifices, and we will continue, God willing. Despite all the sacrifices we have made, despite all the wounds, and despite all the martyrs, we will continue. The resistance will continue, the support for Gaza will continue, and the Israelis will regret what they have done.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken made a statement in Egypt stating the U.S. did not know and were not involved in these incidents. Blinken also urges all parties to not further escalate the situation.
Now we go to weather. It felt a bit cooler these last few days, but will it stay like this?
Yeah, Sienna Monet joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect.
We are on the cool down. We're going to be in the upper 80s this evening with 88 at 8 p.m. Then we're going to drop down to 84 at 10 p.m. For our low temperatures, we're going to be in the 70s here in the valley with 75 here in Phoenix, 37 up at the Grand Canyon, 39 in Flagstaff, and then 66 down in Tucson. For our high temperatures, we're going to be out of those triple-digit numbers across the state with 98 here in Phoenix, 75 up at the Grand Canyon, and then we're going to be in the 90s on the west side of the state with 93 in Bullhead City. Taking a look at our futurecast, there's not going to be much happening except for some light clouds moving on through with a possibility of scattered showers up at the Grand Canyon and Kingman area. And going into the weekend, we're going to be seeing some cooler temperatures with a high of 95 on Friday and a low of 74. And then on Saturday, it's going to be the perfect day to go to the Arizona State Fair. We're going to have a high of 93 with a low of 71, which is below average for this time of year. But that hot weather is here to stay. We're still going to be in those triple digits with 103 on Tuesday, 101 on Wednesday, and then 103 on Thursday. So it's not quite time to bring out those sweaters. I'm Sienna Monet from the Cronkite Weather Center. Back to you.
Coming up next, the Cronkite Sports Report, and ASU swimming is back.
That's right. See how the team is looking ahead into the season and what changes are being made to the program. And with former ASU head coach Bob Bowman off to Texas, ASU looks to their new head coach to keep the program on track. See how things are shaping up in the Aquatic Center after the break.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut.
How students can build their broadcast journalism portfolio with opportunities to learn more about on-air reporting and studio production.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @thecut_network and on X at @CutASU.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Anna McClure. The Diamondbacks avoided getting swept and picked up a big 9-4 win today against the Colorado Rockies. The Snakes got out to a big 6-0 lead after 2 innings and never surrendered the lead. Corbin Carroll opened the scoring for the D-backs with a solo home run in the first inning. The Diamondbacks added to their lead with back-to-back home runs in the second inning, courtesy of Carroll again and Randall Grichuk. Eduardo Rodriguez started for the Snakes and struck out 11 Rockies, his most in a start since 2019. With their win today, the D-backs took a half-game lead over the Mets and the NL wildcard standings. The Mets can make up the halftime later today when they host the Washington Nationals. Arizona travels to Milwaukee to face the Brewers tomorrow in the first of a 4-game series. The Phoenix Mercury took on the Los Angeles Sparks last night in their final road game of the season. But before first half ended, tensions flared between both teams. Mercury center Brittany Griner and Sparks rookie Rickea Jackson were ejected after exchanging shoves following a rebound attempt. Griner scored 14 points before her ejection. In the second half, the Mercury outscored the Sparks 49-37. They went on to win the big game 85-81. The Mercury will host one last regular season game Thursday versus the Seattle Storm. Women's professional basketball is coming to Portland, Oregon. This will be the WNBA's 15th team. The team will play its home games at the Moda Center, where the Portland Trail Blazers play, starting in 2026. The city's new franchise will be owned and operated by Raj Sports. The Phoenix Suns will have a new G League team this season as they acquired the right to own and operate the Valley Suns. The team will play its home games at Mole Arena. The Valley Suns will be led by head coach John Little, who most recently spent time as an assistant coach for the Milwaukee Bucks G League affiliate, the Wisconsin Herd. Prior to that, he was a video coordinator at his alma mater, Northern Iowa. It was his time where that he feels helped him prepare for this new role.
To break down film, how to watch games, got to be in the video or in the room with our head coach a lot, spend a lot of time with them and see how they do those things. So for me, it was like the right step going from playing to seeing more of the technical side.
To ASU football, where defensive Black Cole Martin is done for a season with a hip injury. It's a blow to the secondary in a week when defense will prove crucial to Sun Devils' chance of winning at Texas Tech on Saturday. Aaron Nemiroff has more on how ASU looks to move to 4-0 on the season.
Arizona State heads to Lubbock for their first ever Big 12 matchup against a high-powered offense in Texas Tech. The Red Raiders are coming off a 66-21 victory last weekend. The Sun Devils defense will need to play at their highest level as they head into a hostile environment at Jones AT&T Stadium on Saturday.
This is really well coached. They do a great job of self-scouting themselves, so we've done a deep dive into what they've done in the past versus teams that are similar to our defenses. I know several guys on their staff as well, so just trying to anticipate what we think they're going to do.
Last weekend, Texas Tech's offense scored 8 total touchdowns. This came from a balanced attack of 4 passing touchdowns along with 4 rushing. The Red Raiders personnel is loaded with weapons, so the Sun Devils' focus should be to keep them off of the field for as long as possible.
We're one of the best teams, I think top 10 in the country, maybe top 5, I don't know, in time of possession. So I think when you're running the ball, you have a control passing game and you dominate time of possession, it limits the amount of snaps the defense gets, which then gets your guys fresher when they're on the field, which is a huge advantage.
ASU knows they'll need a complete performance if they're going to beat Texas Tech on the road this weekend. We'll see if this week's preparations can carry them through their Big 12 debut. Reporting from Tempe, I'm Aaron Nemiroff, Cronkite Sports.
Thanks, Aaron. Kickoff for Saturday's game is at 12:30. The Phoenix Rising prepare for a big home matchup this weekend against San Antonio FC. The Rising are currently 2 points ahead of San Antonio, with both sides looking to reach the playoffs in the offseason. The game has been marked as Hispanic Heritage Night, as Rising head coach Diego Gomez emphasizes its significance for his Hispanic players and the community.
Players from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Argentina, myself that I am from Spain. So we feel like Mexico also. We have a lot of people that is in this Latino and Spanish-speaking community, and to have the Heritage Day on an important game also, I think is special for us, and we're gonna try to show it on the field.
ASU's swim and dive is back in the pool after a historic run last season that saw the men's team win a national championship. Soon after, the legendary head coach Bob Bowman and star swimmer Leon Marchand left the program. Now the team is looking to rebuild. Our Kayla Marinaw highlights some of the changes in the pool.
It's practice as usual for Sun Devil Swim and Dive at Mona Plummer Aquatic Center in Tempe, but the team faces key changes this year, including a new leader on deck. Herbie Boehm is taking on the role as the men's and women's swim and dive head coach, a familiar face to the program as an alum and former Sun Devil swimmer. Senior men's swimmer Patrick Salmon is excited about the connection Boehm is bringing to the pool.
He definitely bleeds maroon and gold, so he brings a lot of pride, especially coming as an alumni. So he brings us and tells us stories about some of the past stuff that he's been through, and that definitely helps with our sense of culture on the team and like just boosting us to the next level.
After the Sun Devils' historic finish to last season, they are looking to grow and develop under Boehm, who is one of 9 Sun Devil alumni head coaches.
It's super exciting. It's just cool to see how the team has changed and grown over all the years, and how it's different goals, different things that we're trying to reach, but still kind of who we are is very much the same. So yeah, it's just been a ton of fun the whole time.
Boehm swam for the Sun Devils from 2010 to 2013. After graduating in 2013, Boehm came back to the swim and dive program in 2018, serving as the associate head coach and assistant coach. During his time coaching at ASU, he has been a part of the many achievements in the program. Senior women's swimmer Charlie Brown appreciates how Boehm is forming a Sun Devil family within the program.
It's definitely really cool to know that he has kind of experienced what we've are going through. It definitely has that sense of community, something that I've never really experienced to like this extent, which is really exciting, and it just makes me feel so excited and proud to be a part of this team as well.
With it being a new milestone for Boehm, he is looking to foster unity and empowerment within the program in his new leadership role. In Tempe, Kayla Marinaw, Cronkite News.
ASU men and women's swim and dive team kicks off their season October 4th against UNLV in Tempe. That's it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to DeAndre and Kayla at the desk.
Thank you, Anna. Coming up next, one NBA legend's house has finally found a buyer after being on the market for over a dozen years.
Yes, Kayla, the $15 million property may have found a new owner. The mansion, which includes a full-size basketball court, 19 bedrooms. Find out who it belongs to after the break.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized, individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite.
If you didn't already guess, Michael Jordan's mansion, which took 3 years to build, is getting its locks changed.
Yes, the property, which was finished in 1995, will likely have a new resident in the near future.
Jordan's property is under contract. This means the NBA legend agreed on an offer, but the sale is not final. Both parties have signed a contract, but the sale is not finished until all contingencies are met, which will likely take an additional couple of weeks. Jordan had a new property constructed in Jupiter, Florida back in 2010, where he currently resides. That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Kayla Marina.
And I'm DeAndre Sanders. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.